Hey everyone, so today I am going to be doing a video I've never done before. I'm going to be going through the eyeshadow palettes that I regret buying. I've kind of wanted to do this video for a while, but I just haven't really gotten around to it, and I'm more so into doing videos where I'm like, I love this, I love that, but there are palettes that I do regret buying. It's not a huge list, and it's not like it's like a detrimental, I hate this palette so much it makes me like really mad, but I thought that you guys might still want to see the eyeshadow palettes that I personally regret buying. So if you want to see that video, just keep watching. I apologize for my appearance, obviously. If you didn't know, got lots of pain going on, so I kind of only do just half of my face for makeup photos. But I wanted to film this intro while I still had some makeup on, so I didn't just look, awful. As you guys can see, I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, so let's go through the ones that I regret buying. First, I want to talk about a palette that I've already decluttered. That is the James Charles Morphe palette. I've personally owned this palette 3 times, I think, maybe twice. I bought the full size like a few months after the palette came out. I decided initially I didn't need it because there's too many like natural shades. If you're new here, I prefer bright, fun colors. But I decided eventually, okay, well, I'm gonna buy it anyways. And I ended up decluttering it the day that I got it in the mail anyways. I'm a mess like that, it happens. So then, flash forward a few months and I saw the mini. It was on sale, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy it. And once again, used it once, didn't reach for it, so then I decluttered it again. Nothing wrong with the formula. Formula was fine. It was just, I didn't need all those shades in one palette. I have those like shades elsewhere, so I decided to declutter it. I do love Morphe's formula usually. I have never really, there's been one palette I haven't really enjoyed, the rest I've loved, so I do like the Morphe formula. It's just really not a palette that I need in my collection, hence why I've decluttered it twice, so that's a palette I definitely regret buying. Sticking with the Morphe theme and the theme of palettes I've already decluttered and don't have with me right now, it'll be the Morphe 39S, Morphe's Christmas palette last year. Those two palettes, they're stunning. The one palette is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful purple palette. It's just too big, too many shades. I never reached for it, and I had it for a few months, so I decluttered that. Then I decided, you know what? This other palette, I bought it for literally the neon shades. I decluttered that as well. Like, I regret buying both of those because, like, they were just too big and I never got any use out of them. So it was just a waste of money and time, honestly. I'm trying to do a lot better with that. I try to only buy palettes that I know I'm going to get a lot of use out of, hence not buying a ton of natural, neutral palettes, if you get what I mean. These palettes are beautiful. Formula was awesome. They're just not palettes that I needed, so I really regret buying them. I regret buying the Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 palette. The only reason I regret this is because I don't reach for it. The natural shades just aren't for me. It's a beautiful palette, and I thought with all these bright shades I would get use out of it, but unfortunately, the formula just doesn't work on my eyes. All the shades that I've tried, they just don't work well on me, hence why I regret buying them. I just wish that I would have skipped on it. This is another palette that I literally bought twice. When I first bought it, I swatched a few shades and was like, you know what, I don't need this. I have these colors elsewhere. I sold it, and then a few months later, bought it again. I used it because I loved the bright shades so much, but once again, I just didn't need it, so another regret. The next palette we have is the ABH Norvina palette, Volume 1. This palette is stunning. It's one of the most beautiful palettes, but it wasn't a color story that I needed in my life. I should have waited. Like, I thought they were all limited editions, so I should have waited, but I saw these. I love purple, so I decided, you know what, I want these, and you know what? I've used this maybe once. It's stunning, but like, I just wish I would have gotten it on sale or something. I have these colors elsewhere. I don't need this palette, and I really wish I would have waited before purchasing it. The palette that I regret because of the color story is the Carli Bybel palette. It is stunning, but it's just too natural for me. Like, I just don't get inspired by it, and also, like, I just bought it because it was on sale. Like, it was like half off or something, so I bought it, and these colors are beautiful, the formula is beautiful, it's just not a palette that I reach for, unfortunately. Another palette that I've bought like a million times is the Subculture by ABH. We know the drama with this palette. This palette is insanely weird. It's super patchy. I bought this palette initially when it launched. I liked it, but I did have the issues everyone else was having, so then after a few months I decluttered it. I enjoyed it, but, you know, just kind of gave up on it. I got it again a few months ago because it was like on sale, and I hate it. I hate it so much. I tried to do a look today with it, and it was so patchy. It did not work out. Like, it was just the weirdest eyeshadow experience ever, and I never want to experience it again. It was bad. I regret buying it. I had hoped that because there were different formulations that maybe it would be better, but nah, it was crap. So, you know, regret buying this for a second time. I regret buying the Flutterby ColourPop palette, mainly only because of the color story. It's just too natural for me. Like, I think I thought it would have a little bit more purple to it, which it does for natural shades, but for me, just doesn't do it for me, if you know what I mean. Like, it's just too natural for me. I love my bright shades. This is just not it. Same thing kind of goes for Garden Variety. I bought it because it is a stunning palette. I like the color story. I like the variance between like natural shades and then like you get some like purplies and greens, but this is just kind of a lackluster palette for me. Like, there's nothing super wrong with it. It's just not a color story I need. I have all the colors that I want elsewhere, so it just wasn't a palette I needed, and I kind of just bought because it was ColourPop. Not gonna lie, I do that a lot with ColourPop. I'm trying to be better. Like, I do order from ColourPop a lot, but I try really hard, like, just to order one or two things that I really want rather than getting everything I think I want and then regretting it, like with this palette. Pain Squeeze is kind of the same. Like, I bought it because I love their 9-pan colored palettes, and at the time I didn't have a ton of tones like this, but like now I have more than enough red tones, and this isn't the type of red tone palette that I personally like. It's just not a palette that I got any use out of whatsoever. I don't even think I've used it once, swatched it, and then put it in my collection and never looked again. So this is not a palette that I needed, and I wish I wouldn't have bought it.
Y'all see the trend going on? Because I do.
We have the I Do Not Care by Violet Voss. This palette is stunning. The only reason I regret buying it is because I didn't really need it at the time. Formula, amazing. Color story, awesome. I do wish there were more colors than the like natural browns, but that being said, for a little mini palette, it's beautiful. I do really like this palette. I just regret buying it because it's just not a color story that I needed at any point in time. So this one I really like and love, but I still decluttered it, and I still like don't need it, and I do wish I would have just held off on it, but it is what it is. An expensive palette that I had no need buying was the Natasha Denona Love palette. This palette is stunning, don't get me wrong, but I didn't need this in my life at all. It got me on the sale, of course, it was on sale. I don't remember how much it was on sale for, but I didn't need it. So, like, I bought it. Like, I think I tried using it once, and that was it. Like, it's just, it was not for me. And I wish I wouldn't have bought it because I don't need it. I didn't use the color story. Formula's fine, but wasn't for me. Really wish I wouldn't have bought that. We have the Diamond and Blush face palette. This palette is gorgeous. Again, got it on sale, half off. It's just not a palette that I need now. I got this when I started getting into blushes, and I do really like this palette, don't get me wrong, but I would rather just go buy the diamond powder on its own than to have this whole palette that I really don't have room for on my vanity, so I never get use out of it. Really, the only reason I don't like this and wish I wouldn't have bought it and regret buying it is because I just don't get use out of it. We have the Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsessions. Really don't mind the color story. The only reason I regret buying this is because I just didn't get use out of it. It's not the most intriguing color story. It is more purple toned, but it's still like not my favorite purple color story ever. I love these palettes, but they are super expensive for what they are. So another regret is buying so many of these expensive little Huda palettes. Lastly, let's talk about the
elephant in the room.
Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Y'all, if you don't know, I used to love that brand so much, like so much. But, you know, with everything happening, it's just kind of like, no, a big no. So, one of the things I regret buying is the Conspiracy palette. All the drama aside, all the bad things aside, because I don't want to get flagged or anything, this palette is beautiful. The color story is nice, but I didn't get any use out of it as much as I love the shade Sleep Paralysis. I'm sure I can somehow find a dupe for it. This palette is beautiful, but again, just wasn't really for me, not my type of like shades really. I liked it, didn't love it, and honestly kind of regret buying it, not only because of all like the bad stuff, but just because it wasn't something I need and I basically bought it because of the hype. Same thing with the Mini Controversy palette. I love this color story in that, but again, I just didn't reach for it, and then when everything happened, I was just like, nope, don't need that, don't know why I bought that, gosh, wish I wouldn't have. Same thing with Cremated. If you don't know the story of me getting the Cremated palette, I bought it, then it got lost, so I got refunded for it, and then 2 months later, got it in the mail. So, like, I can't regret buying that too much because I ended up not getting it, but then I got it. And it wasn't worth it anyways. Like, it's just a ton of weird tones, and it was just not for me. One Jeffree Star formula that I cannot find a dupe for are the Extreme Frost highlighters. So if you know any dupes for the Extreme Frost, please let me know, because I would love to quit buying them. But that is my favorite formula. I love the glittery intense highlight moments. So if y'all know a dupe for that, please let me know. There's obviously like a lot of palettes that I regret buying in my life. It just is what it is. It's nothing too bad. Like, it's not like I'm like,
Oh my god, I wish I wouldn't have bought this, I'm so horrible.
but there are palettes that I decide to declutter that I'm like, why did I buy this? It doesn't happen too often. Usually I enjoy my palettes, but every so often, like today, I realized I have an accumulation, so decided to do a palettes I regret buying video. So this is new to me. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you go follow my TikTok because I post makeup tutorials there and some funny cat videos and stuff like that. So make sure you go follow it. It's Makeup by Tasha XO, like all my socials. Make sure you go follow my Instagram as well, because I post there practically every day. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe, comment down below any videos you'd like to see me do. Make sure you go follow my TikTok. I just made it like a couple days ago, so make sure you go check it out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.